All right, we're going to try a new segment here. That's what they said. Now,
they said.
That's
not
what they
she said.
That's what they. It's not just she. It's not what you think it is. This isn't The Office here. Everybody. We're including everybody.
Everyone. All right.
Some of the biggest quotes in the wrestling industry, that we've heard, and coming from the wrestler's mouth. We're not going to do rumors here or whatever. We're coming straight from their mouths. And let's start with the Miz.
That's what she said.
Oh, we got to try to get one in every time, man.
That's also what she said.
All right, that's what they said. Let's start with the Miz. Talking about Logan Paul said that he, quote, could be the face of the WWE in the future. Your thoughts on that?
Miz said that?
Miz said that. He brought Logan Paul in?
You know what? He's not, that's not a complete exaggeration.
Really?
I don't know now in the sense of like he is Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, whatever.
Face of the WWE is the face of the WWE, man.
Okay, then I will disagree in that sense because I think that Logan Paul can be one of the biggest names kind of synonymous with WWE.
Sure.
But as far as like the marquee flag bearer, no.
No, I agree. No, he's not ever going to be committed enough to the industry. He is a lot more than any other celebrity has ever been, which is why he's involved as much as he is.
And he's great at what he does.
He's great at what he does. He was great in the Rumble. He's a great heel. But you have too much going on outside. This isn't your focus. And that is disrespectful to the industry to say someone like that is the face of the company. When you have you mentioned Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, John Cena, so on, right? Yeah. Guys who dedicated their lives to this. He's not dedicating his life to this.
Jey Uso has a better shot at being the face of the company.
Yes.
Than Logan Paul. Yeah.
He's not dedicating his life to this, so you cannot say that one bit. I understand. And
that's not negative. I mean, his bread and butter largely came from online, being a YouTuber.
Yes.
So it's like that is more or less your lane. You just happen to be really great at being a WWE wrestler.
Saying he's going to be the face of WWE is a bit of a stretch. I know you're trying to pump him up, how big of a star he is. But
might as well have said freaking I Show Speed at this point.
His Rumble performance, I give it to him. Seth Rollins
could have had Tozawa.
He's going to get there next year, he said.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's good. Poor guy. I'm glad Triple H gave him his chair, though. That was very nice.
That was very nice of him to stand.
Stand up guy.
He's earned it. He's been there for a while.
Shout out to Paul Levesque. All right. Seth Rollins, talking about the Raw move to Netflix, said, quote, the biggest step forward in wrestling history. Are we overblowing this?
No.
No?
No. Because prior to this, the biggest step forward was having the WWE Network. I'm prone to agree with him because of the scale of what Netflix is.
Yes.
And how many people you can reach. WWE Network was one thing, but that was going to reach WWE fans, wrestling fans, right?
Yes.
Netflix, you have millions and millions of people who already subscribe to it for other reasons.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, what's this WWE thing? Oh, hey, I know who John Cena is.
Yep.
Are they doing a show? Like, what is this?
Yep. Check this out.
And that's it. Okay. Now that part alone, even if that person just turns an episode on for like a minute or two, you've accomplished it.
Even that's, again, Logan Paul is on Raw on Netflix.
And people can be like, I know who Logan Paul is. What is he doing being a wrestler? Yeah.
I think it's also the perfect example of wrestling in a company moving with the times.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like SmackDown's only going to be on USA for so much longer. Everything's going to be on Netflix, right? So much within the wrestling industry, we know who we're talking about, and Vince McMahon just ignored the times and kind of wanted to stick to the old ways. And this is a perfect example of what is the world right now? Let's do it.
Yep.
Right? And let's do it at the biggest we possibly can. Like you said, Netflix, the reach that it has, the amount of people that it has, 100%. You mentioned John Cena when talking about this. Let's go to Jeff Hardy's quote.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy recently said, quote, if I was living life the way I am now in my 20s and 30s, I'd be bigger than John Cena.
I don't know, because he makes a good point, just given the history of Jeff Hardy. If you would have taken all like the addiction, substance abuse stuff out of it, 15 years ago with him, I don't know.
Yes.
Now, John Cena John Cena to me is one of those guys you can look at, or girls you can look at and be like, they're a generational talent. Like they don't come along all the time.
Yes.
It's like a Steve Austin or a Rock or whatever. You don't get that everywhere.
Yes.
Jeff Hardy, in the sense of what he's famous for, as far as like he does crazy stunts. Well, we've had a lot of guys who do that.
Yeah. Some
better than others. He had his own flavor, personality to it. Yeah, of course. And I'm a big fan of his. but I don't know if he had that special something, especially on the microphone.
Yes.
John Cena kind of has that whole, pardon the pun, the prototype of being a wrestler. And I don't think Jeff Hardy had all of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's where he would lose it, is the promo. Mm-hmm. I think the other big kicker for me in terms of, pause, is we got to remember how John Cena, we just mentioned it, changed with the times. Yes. Whether you agreed with it or not, WWE got very PG.
Big time.
In the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
Into the 2010s. John Cena went from being the doctor of thugonomics, talking about balls and rapping about boobies and everything.
Dick jokes, everything you want to talk about.
And then he had to clean it up and become what Rock called him as, Barney and whatever
Fruity
else.
Pebbles.
Right? Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
He had to clean it up, and he did it beautifully, right? Yeah. Like, John Cena is as cheesy as it gets now.
Think about that, though, and it worked for the time. To your point, he did change with it, because if you think about where WWE's audience was at that point, if you look at The Rock and Steve Austin, right, or even like DX, you know, at that time, it was, you can wave the middle finger at people on TV like Stone Cold was. You can say, whatever, can of whoop ass and all this stuff, and people are cheering for that because your demographic was 18 to 40 or whatever.
Yes.
Right? As you get into the PG era, it's like the the Hogan era or whatever back in the 80s. You want to give kids now, it's like, we have a guy who's a wrestler, he's tough, he's out there fighting, but in the sense of, and I say this kind of like in the sense of a character, not in the literal sense of being afraid of him. Children tend to gravitate to something more colorful and bright and safe than dark and scary.
Yes.
So it's easier to be like, John Cena is like, oh, well, I wear these bright colors, I have all these accessories, I'm an action figure, but I can still be in there and be the hero. It's like Superman versus Batman. You know what I mean? Jeff Hardy was more on the spectrum of like, I do the cool moves, but I'm doing dangerous stuff. Your parents are going to tell you don't do that because you can get hurt.
Correct. I'm the Rock guy that kind of is that kind of odd man out, which was his vibe.
Which is like, it's cool. And it's the thing that attracts you to him. It's like, oh, you're edgier. Yeah. But it's like, oh, but what you do is dangerous, and I can't do that because I'll get in trouble.
For sure. Yeah, and I appreciate Jeff saying this. I understand because he had a lot of popularity, and I know people are going to turn to his WWE title win, but like, we also got to remember that was one short run.
Yeah.
He's talking about as big as John Cena. John Cena went through eras.
I don't think the longevity would have been there. No. John Cena has been, like, we're talking over a decade.
I don't think we'll ever see another John Cena.
No, because Austin and The Rock didn't even have they had a handful of years.
They had
Austin was like 97 to 2000 what 2004.
Yes. Rock and Austin were like, and you said 2004. That's giving him plenty of part-time years.
Yeah.
John Cena had like 15 full-time years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
relevant main event WrestleMania championship years.
So that's my thing. So like, that's a big. I appreciate
again
thought.
Fan of Jeff Hardy. I just think that's a stretch.
Baron Corbin, no longer with WWE, but in an interview was talking about Jacob Fatu. And he said, quote, that dude is going to main event WrestleMania. I actually said 5 years of WrestleMania, by the way. So
he said he's going to main event 5 WrestleManias?
Yeah, like he was very specific.
Consecutively?
So, Roman Reigns.
Yeah, right.
Do you see that in Jacob?
I don't know about 5. I mean, obviously anything can happen. But to say that, do I ever see Jacob Fatu in a WrestleMania main event for the title or not for a title?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think if you watch just his performance in the Rumble, just the way that he's kind of gotten into his character and has gotten over with like how he presents himself, I see a lot of Umaga with him.
Yes.
But I see a lot more they can do with him.
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't think that's a stretch to say.
Umaga with a promo. Right?
There you go.
It's beautiful. And you love that. Like, and he's got that.
Umaga with a catchphrase.
Yes.
Or capable of making a catchphrase.
Exactly. I can see him getting into a WrestleMania main event 100%. He's a huge star. He's red hot right now. Yeah. I don't know if this version of him is a WrestleMania main eventer. You got to remember, like, if you go down the WrestleMania main events, like, as much as it's the Triple H era now, we still get the typical stars in there. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, the clean-cut big stars.
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu is far from that.
Right, but have you ever watched an interview with Jacob Fatu?
Yes.
Super likable guy.
Love it. And that's why I said this version of him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think if you what you couldn't really do, or they didn't attempt to do with Umanga is kind of clean him up, because that wasn't his story.
Yes.
Jacob Fatu has that possibility to where I can see this version of him being a heel in a main event at WrestleMania.
Yes.
And a more, lack of a better term, refined version of Jacob Fatu being a beloved babyface going for a title shot at WrestleMania.
I don't see this version of him being a heel in the main event. A big WrestleMania match, not the main event. I think you got to get that likable babyface side that is still crazy out of him, and that's your WrestleMania
like
main
a Mick
event
Foley, where like he's a lovable guy, but when he wants to turn on the psycho, he can.
Right? So, and I think that's your WrestleMania main eventer right there. Agreed. So it's there. All right, lastly, and this isn't a quote, it is a quote, but it's going to be a tweet. And I'm going to read this out to you. It's from Corey Graves. This is right after the new year when the announcers changed. Raw on Netflix is Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. SmackDown now Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett. Corey Graves moved down to NXT now. And he said in this tweet, imagine chasing your dream, then being told, not deciding, that you're no longer physically able to pursue your dream. Then you dedicate your life to something, quote, dream adjacent, and being pretty fucking awesome at it. And then, when it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor, being told you're not famous enough for your own job. Just in case you've wondered where I've been. How do you feel about this coming from Corey Graves? He's still in NXT. We're not going to, make anything of this in terms, like he's doing the job down at NXT now, but your thoughts on that?
Well, so I know there's probably people out there that can hear him or read that and say, oh, you sound like, you're ungrateful, whatever. I don't take that comment as a knock on NXT.
No.
I think it's kind of a thing where he took something personally.
Yeah.
Where someone says like, hey, look, I worked so hard and I proved myself. I was there with everybody else. I was working hard as everybody else, probably sometimes harder. And now you're telling me, you're kind of not good enough as these guys, so we're gonna just put you back to where you started.
Yes,
I get that, because if it's me, I'm gonna feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's in the wrong. I just, hopefully it doesn't like ruin anything for him.
I agree with that. Like, and look, I don't think he's in the wrong for saying it at all, and I don't disagree with him one bit. Look, a lot of people give Wade Barrett a lot of credit, but you got to remember Corey Graves was once that guy in terms of the work on commentary. And you saw that they believed in Corey Graves. They made him the play-by-play guy on SmackDown, right? After being a former wrestler and just being a color guy to a play-by-play guy. You've never seen that, right? The play-by-play guys are usually your reporters, your Michael Coles, your Joe, whatever it may be. You're telling me Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves wouldn't work? You're telling me Wade Barrett deserves it more than Corey Graves? I don't buy that. And I like Wade Barrett. I would even take a 3-man booth on SmackDown if you needed to go that route. Or at least keep him on pay-per-views. But to have, I'm a huge fan of Corey Graves, but at the same time, to also have in the business, you are promoting this guy up to the pay-per-view guy with Cole, to the play-by-play guy on SmackDown, to off the main roster completely. I don't buy that one bit. And I don't buy it in favor of Wade Barrett. You could send Wade Barrett back to NXT if that's the move you needed to make. So I 100% agree with him. I respect the fact that he's still doing his job. He's still on NXT. I also wondered how much of a work this was if he's on his way back to the ring. Because give me Corey Graves versus Pat McAfee at WrestleMania, man.
I'm still holding out for Dom versus Pat at WrestleMania.
That's
but no, I agree
one.
with that. I think Wade Barrett, especially when you're in an environment where you're trying to showcase and get people to tune in to watch new talent they've never seen before. Give them a familiar voice.
And Corey
Bad News Barrett. Okay, cool. Joe, shout out to Joe Tessitore, by the way. I think he's like his first little bit of go round. I was like, but he's added such a great like legit playoff commentator feel to the show, and I'm like, I love his voice. I love the way he does his interviews. Like it's just great.
And to even get into it with Kevin Owens, like he's already kind of getting into the story. He's not just your babyface innocent reporter.
It's very
involved.
you know what it's almost like, especially his interaction with and this is for all the old heads out there. His interaction with KO kind of gave me Mean Gene Okerlund vibes. Where he's like, now wait a minute, I'm not, it's like Mean Gene would talk shit to the wrestlers. Like, hold on a minute, now you can't disrespect me like that. And I'm like, get his ass, Joe. Like, call him, just stand on business, bro. Say your shit. Like, and like,
they did make him look weak by getting like, they did have Kevin Owens shove him down or whatever.
Obviously in that scene, you're like, okay, if in storyline, if Kevin Owens attacks Joe Tessitore, it's fucked up. Like, he can beat him up.
Correct.
But he didn't just be like, oh, I'm out of here, I'm sorry, like, and run away. It's like, no, he's like, no, wait a minute, I'm giving you your time. And I'm like, this is I instantly just thought of Mean Gene Okerlund. I'm like, this is great. I love this. Like, he is great. he's really coming to his own at what he does for this company. I love it.
Yeah, I do. I love what Joe's doing. Again, Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves would do fine.
Yeah.
A 3-man booth on SmackDown would be fine. Even keeping Corey Graves as the pay-per-view guy with Cole would have been fine for me, right? And maybe he still does NXT. But to pull him off the main roster after, it's like getting a promotion at work, and then another promotion at work, and then another promotion at work, and then, hey, we're firing you because we're giving
so many promotions for Graves, to your point, where he became a comfortable voice to hear for WWE programming. If you've never watched NXT, it's like, oh yeah, it's Corey Graves.
Yep.
And now when you don't hear him, it's like, oh, it's Wade Barrett. What happened to Corey Graves?
Exactly.
It's like back in the day, it's like, where's Jim Ross? Or where's Michael Cole? Where's Jerry? It's like, I don't know. It's just this random guy. It's Jim Cornette.
It got to the point that many people, and maybe they still do, looked at Corey Graves as, hey, when Michael Cole calls it, there's your next in line.
Yeah.
And again, to get him to that point and then pull him off altogether
and I'm like,
wild.
Barrett is not the guy to take over Michael Cole. I like Wade Barrett. But his color commentary style is fine.
Yes.
But I'm like, you're not the dude.
When you made a color commentator that's a former wrestler, you thought he was so good. It's coming from someone that does play-by-play.
Yeah.
When you take a color commentator that was a former wrestler and say you're so good, you're going to do play-by-play? Come on.
Yeah.
What are we missing here?
Not everybody's a natural. I'm not even saying Pat McAfee. He's a color guy.
Yes.
He's not a play-by-play guy.
Correct.
But he's just natural as a talker, so he's great at it. But it's like you can't just get, oh, you sound good as color guy. You're going to be the next play-by-play. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. That's what they said.
That's what they all said. And they said a lot.
Yeah, they said a lot. Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Darrell Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. That's what she said. That's what they said. We'll talk to you guys very soon.